Coming up on today's edition of the Art Marketing Podcast, I'm going to go on a rant on attention, an analogy on pop-ups, and why whether you like them or not, you need to be using them. All right, let's start with attention. It's what I always love to rant about. Attention is the coin of the realm. Without it, nobody is going to see your art or photography or message. If nobody ever sees your art or photography or message, then they will never have a chance to get to know you, to start to follow you, to build a relationship with you, and to be emotionally bonded to your art or photography. And yes, of course, eventually purchase it, hopefully, right? So step one to becoming a successful artist or photographer, by which I mean one that sells well and achieves the level of success that they're after, that they desire, that their ambition speaks to. It of course starts with being good at your craft, I should say, as a side note. Knowing the product you create is something that the market actually wants. We have 2 episodes on that. If that question is in your mind, I'm going to put those in the show notes. But after that's done, the next step is getting attention. You look at any successful artist out there, and they have figured out how to capture it. They continue to capture it, and they're selling incredibly well as a result of it. Okay, great, Patrick. You never shut up about attention. We get it. Okay, good. So let's talk about the sources of this highly coveted attention. The year of our Lord, 2019, the source we all know about and all talk about is, of course, the social sites out there. Your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, Snapchat, etc. The attention you can get for free, right, by posting and building followings. Then we all have the paid advertising pretty much on all the above platforms. And it costs money, yes, but it works. We give them, the social platforms, our hard-earned dollars, and in exchange, we get access to the attention that those platforms own. That's what they're selling us at the end of the day. And by no means are those the only ways to get attention. I think back to one of the first episodes of this podcast, artist Bill Stidham. How did he get his? A van, a booth, and 10 years of driving across the U.S. and doing art shows all over the place. So by no means is digital the only way. You might have some ways that are unique to you, or some advantages that are unique to you. It doesn't change the fact that you need to get the attention. And when we talk about the digital sites, the social networks is where everyone goes, because that's where the attention is. It's where our potential buyers are spending their time. So that's where we go. Now for the bad news. This is getting harder and harder. It's just getting harder and harder every year. Every time I say that, I think of the Sublime line. It's getting harder and harder every year. Why? Why is it getting harder? The social platforms, they're essentially all bathtubs. Inside the bath, instead of water, they hold attention. Early on, they would let more and more of it out of the drain to us, the lowly serfs that are creating this attention for them, creating the content that brings the attention to them. But they used to let more and more out of it out of the drain, and now they're letting less and less of it out of the drain. Let's do some examples. Facebook back in the day, the all-time classic, all of your followers would see your posts. Remember those golden days? Buy likes on our platform. Buy likes. You want to have a high like count. You'll be able to see, all your fans will be able to see your content. Gone. Now you're lucky if 1% of them do. So that's the Facebook example, right? Just completely taking the reach. Used to give us that attention. Now they've taken it away. Let's talk about YouTube for a second. Not the number one source of art marketing, but it's just important to understand this macro trend. Let's say you have a good number of YouTube subscribers. Okay. Go ahead and post 2 videos to YouTube. You want to run a test? Run a test. The exact same video. In one video, put a link in the video description. Put a link off of YouTube in the video description. And the other one, don't put a link at all. No link. So now we have 2 videos up on YouTube, one with a link, one without. Let that run for a little bit and see which video wins. Guess what happens? The video without the link is going to be shown to more of your subscribers. Goes the same for Facebook. You have a post on Facebook. You want to have 2 posts on Facebook? Post one with an image and some text. Post the other one with some images, some text, and a link off the site. And then see which one of those gets more organic reach. Spoiler alert, it's not going to be the one with the link. Facebook, YouTube, all of them do not want the attention leaving their platform. They reward content that keeps the attention on their platforms. And I think the most profound version of this, of this whole I'm not giving you my attention for free, has got to be Google. Before, you could have a blog post, and it could be the top 10 ways to shoot long exposure photography. And it used to get fantastic traffic from Google. Now, instead, what Google does is it goes onto your website, It takes the top 10 list that you work so hard on, that your 20 years of experience led you to create, and it puts it right on the SERPs page. The SERPs page stands for Search Engine Results Page. It's when you type something into Google, there's that page, right? What do we see on Google all the time now? We see a little box on the Search Engine Results page that shows your top 10 list. And instead of that traffic having to go to your website, potentially sign up for your email list, all they've got to do is look at the Search Engine Result page, get the top 10, and they're out. They're out. They are keeping the attention. And does this suck? Yes, it does. Is it the end of the world, though? No, it's not. No, it's not. Yes, it presents some difficulties, but I think it also presents opportunities. If you understand the game and give, let's say, Facebook what it wants, you'll get what you want. And it's why I love the contest on Facebook with Messenger. You charge up a Facebook post with a ton of engagement, people staying on the platform. You get a ton of comments, people interacting and enjoying the platform, likes, shares, people enjoying the content, and Facebook rewards you with more reach. And it's all a game. It's just all a game. And if you know how to play it, you can win. Now, how to give the socials what they want and get what you want will be the subject of many an upcoming podcast, especially as this digital landscape out there changes. In the meantime, though, I wanted to just like set that argument up and use that argument as the foundation to build the rest of my argument here, and essentially pivot to this important topic of the pop-ups on your site. The pop-ups on your site. So not only is getting the attention from the socials getting harder and harder, it's not even just the socials, and it's not just an artist or photographer program either. I should say, this is an industry-wide type of a situation, just an internet-wide type of a situation. I should say it starts with the four horsemen: Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Apple. And then there's the next tier: Twitter, Pinterest, Snapchat. You can even put the marketplaces in there if you like, your Etsy, your Fine Art Americas, and the rest. And they're all playing the same game. They're all playing the game. We have attention. We're going to keep it. We do not want to give up the attention. We know it's the currency of the land. And so it's going to get, as a result of this, harder and harder and harder to get people to come to our websites where we need them to be in the first place. And if that wasn't enough, it's getting harder and harder and harder to keep your website updated and with the times. Responsive themes and quick loading pages and optimized images, and how do you be friendly to all browsing situations? And more traffic is mobile. How does your site look on mobile? How quickly does it load? Is it a pleasurable experience? Is it very effective at converting your traffic into the buyers that you needed to do? That's getting really, really hard to do. That's getting really, really hard to keep up with. You don't have a massive army. I don't have a massive army of coders that know how to test every single solitary thing and have 500 A/B tests all running at the same time so we can keep up with the times. Moreover, I don't see a psychologist in my office. Do you have one? I certainly don't have a specialist in brain chemistry that knows how to design notifications and beeps and bings to keep you coming back to that phone again and again and again, checking it all the times. How many times you check your phone today? Some of you guys have that app running, or I guess they all have a native app now. How many times you check your phone? What about last night on the couch? How many times you check Instagram on the couch last night? Was it more than once? Was it more than once? I bet it was quite a few. So there's no way, as website owners, we're going to be able to compete with those army of peoples that are optimizing those experiences on the social sites, let alone baking in the brain chemistry and giving us all nice little dopamine hits as we continue to consume the content and all of those games that they play to keep us on their platforms all day long. They're great at it, right? So enough with the doom and gloom. Enough with the doom and gloom. What does this mean for us? And what about pop-ups? And I need an analogy. I promised an analogy. You ever see the movie Good Will Hunting? Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Robin Williams. Great movie. Fantastic movie. Two scenes in that movie, I think, do a fantastic job of capturing how I feel, how I think about pop-ups. And I should define what a pop-up is briefly. By pop-up, I mean a box. Everybody that's ever been on the internet has seen one. A box that pops up on your website. Yes, it interrupts the user, but it pops up and asks for an email address. It can ask for just about anything, but the most common one is they ask for an email address. It can be big, take up the entire screen. It can be small. It could potentially be in the very top of your website. It can slide in from the bottom right. Those are all pop-ups. Everyone's seen one, nothing new, right? Okay, back to the movie, how I like to think about them. I'm a guy, so I'm going to start with the male version. You're in a bar with your friends, having a few drinks, and the most beautiful woman you've ever seen in your life walks into that bar. You summon the courage to go talk to her. You have a fantastic conversation. But you're watching the game. Some big moment happens in the game. You get distracted. She goes back to her friends. You go back to your friends. Some time goes by. She's about to leave. You catch it out of the corner of your eye. What do you do? What do you do in that situation? The potential love of your life is about to walk out that door. Are you going to let her go? The minute she walks out of that bar, the chances are you are never going to see her again. Can you summon the courage to walk up to her and ask her for her phone number? You know, a slightly different version of when Robin Williams in that movie slides his ticket across the bar to his friends and misses the game because he's going to have a drink with his future wife. Ladies, not going to leave you out on this one. What if you're in a bar and Matt Damon just blew your mind with his wicked smats? He didn't have the courage to come up and ask for your number, though, and you knew it. You knew it. You saw it. So you're a mini driver. And what do? You write down your number on a piece of paper. You let him know that you have to go. You're out of time. And you give it to him before you walk out. Perhaps a bit of a cheesy analogy, most of mine are, but for me, I find it to be profound. I can all too easily think back to my single days and how many times I was a complete coward and let the girl walk out of the bar. And 95% of the time, I never saw that person again either. What does this have to do with the pop-ups? Let's get back to it. It makes sense already, doesn't it, though? Marketing, let me define it in a sentence. Sort out how you get some attention and then ask. You have to ask. There always needs to be an ask. If you don't ask, you're going to end up with nothing. You're going to never sell anything. So the pop-up is an extremely effective way of doing it. I know, Patrick. I hate pop-ups. They're annoying. I get it. Trust me. Everybody sees them. We all know. I find them annoying at times too, especially when you're just trying to read the thing and it pops up. It's like, I don't even know you. I haven't even read anything. I don't know if I can trust you. Get this thing out of my face. You don't even know who the brand is or what they sell even. And they're hitting you with one of those things. And it's not time to ask for my email yet, right? Trust me, I get all of that. It's in how you do it, though. And if you believe in what you're selling, then you should be completely comfortable asking. You need to be completely comfortable asking. And when we talk about art sales, there's two versions of pop-ups. And I think it's somewhat of an important distinction. So let me cover that briefly. There's the e-commerce version, right? So pretty much all artists and photographers out there, if they have a website, they have one or the other. Some a combination, sure, but it's one or the other. You have an e-commerce website, a website that is set up to sell art and photography online. It is an e-commerce experience. Or you have some sort of pretty portfolio slide slash content marketing blog, let's just say. Now, in the e-commerce version, if you're selling art directly from your website, the pop-up usually takes the form of the minute they hit your site, boom, you hit them with a pop-up, usually offering some sort of percentage off discount for first-time orders, right? Hey, you're here, Patrick. Welcome. Take 10% off your first order. Redeem coupon, or no, I don't want 10% off, right? Like that's a common one you see all the time. Pretty much every e-commerce site imaginable, just about at this point in time, runs those. So we've all seen those all the time, right? And it's one that I can deal with. I think it's one that most people can deal with because it's like, you know what? My intent coming to this e-commerce site is different than my intent coming to a portfolio site or a blog. I'm here to buy something. I wouldn't be coming here otherwise. And so if you're going to throw a deal at me right out the gates, sure, I'll take that deal. If I'm interested, I'll take that deal. If I don't, I'll close it and I'll browse. I'll refresh the browser, come back, get that same deal. So I'm going to get the deal one way or the other, but I appreciate it, right? It's not so terrible. Now, that's the e-commerce. Let's talk about the portfolio website or the blog type of pop-up. Yes, of course, you can run one as soon as they hit your site. A lot of people do. Really popular are the full screen ones that just knock everything out right at the get-go. But I actually, in this situation, really prefer the exit pop-up. No pop-up at first. They hit the site, they consume some content, and then before they leave, boom, you hit them with an exit pop-up. An exit pop-up, the browser technology just, it understands when you're going to move your mouse out of the window, and it uses that, and it fires the pop-up. So that's what I mean by exit. It's on the way out. It's not on the way in. It gets a little muddy on how that happens with mobile, but it's a different subject. So far less intrusive when you do exit, but that's more of an example of something you can do. Well, I mean, all examples abound on all sites, right? Some sites have multiple pop-ups, and trust me, at Art Storefronts, we're guilty of this and then some. So how you go about it, which way you choose to approach it, how aggressive and or not aggressive, what type of pop-up it is, what you feel comfortable running, whether it's the entrance, the exit, time on site, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can trigger them, or both. That part, totally up for debate, totally up for you. What part is not up for debate and is not up to you, it's totally up to you still, but is whether or not you're running one. My argument, given especially the digital climate we're in currently, is that having one is simply not optional. You have to be running one. You have to have one. So, you have one on your site? Let me tell you, the sheer number of photographer and artist sites I look at, and I look at a whole lot of them, they don't. They're not asking the girl, the potential love of their life, walking out the door, never to be seen again. They're not asking. So if you need one, everybody needs one. So if you don't have one, you need one. End of podcast, right? To which you reply, is that it? Run pop-ups? Are you serious? I've known about them for years. This is supposed to be a podcast that is heavy on art and photo tactical marketing. Is that all you got? Fine. Not going to let me off the hook. Not easy. I get it. Okay. First, some data that I've been collecting recently. And I've been spending a bunch of time recently, I need this to set up the story, running paid ads, optimizing the landing pages that those ads drop the visitors off of, drop the intention off on, and yes, optimizing my pop-ups. And I was pouring through some data recently, and I noticed as a result of a glitch, an oversight of some kind, there were multiple pages that I was driving traffic to that didn't have an exit pop-up going. And I looked at the data, and it was just staggering. When you execute well on the pop-up language, the offer, whatever it is you're arguing, your conversion rate that you can achieve is just insane. It's amazing. In my case, for this particular tranche of traffic, I guess I would say, I'm seeing on average like 6 to 9%. I mean, I didn't average it all out, but between 6 and 9% of the people that are coming to my website before they leave are opting in to continue the relationship. They're giving me my email address, and they walked out of the bar, and I have a way to still contact them. Now, I noticed how staggering this data was, and it sort of hit me across the face. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to record a podcast episode of it. I got caught with my pants down on this. I don't want my loyal listeners to. Let me impart this wisdom. So if I have 100 people that come to my site a day, just to keep the math easy, 6 additional people are joining my email list a day. That's 186 emails per month, 2,300 emails a year. Stretch that out over a few years, and my traffic grows. It becomes an even bigger number. So it pencils very, very quickly, especially for those of us that are in the I am an artist or photographer for life camp. I'm going to be selling my art 20 years from now. So it stands to reason you put this into place. Of course, the technology is going to change in 20 years. But the point is, you put it into place and it starts compounding as you continue to grow. And if your website is only getting 5 visitors a day, well, okay, the numbers are not quite so glamorous for you, but you are just getting started anyway, and it takes time. Moreover, all it takes is one person whose email you do not have now, that you would not have had, that buys 3 of your originals and increases your yearly sales by 30% over the previous year, right? Like the numbers pencil no matter where you are at the stack. They just do. And especially when you consider how little time, energy, and effort it takes to get one set up. You want more? There's more. And this is going to require some quick talk of ye old marketing funnel. But I'm going to keep it brief and not go into the weeds and not bore you guys. You have a website. Good. Your website has tracking on it. Good. For most people, this is likely Google Analytics, which will measure some steps in your funnel. And hopefully you have goals set up for things that do not, that Google Analytics is not like track by default, like email opt-ins, add to carts, purchases. Let's just say you're tracking all that if you have an e-commerce site. So you work on driving traffic to your website. That traffic comes from a whole bunch of places. It comes from direct, people that typed your URL directly into a browser. It comes from referrals, which are links on other websites that point to your website. It comes from the social sites. It comes in the social sites, and that you can break that down. Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, whatever it may be, right? It comes from ads you put up wherever. It comes from any PR you might have generated or paid to generate, magazine articles, press of any kind. It comes from Messenger if you're using Facebook Messenger. So the question you have to ask yourself is, which traffic source among those, all that traffic I just talked about that you're generating, which one's the most valuable? It's easy, Patrick. I can tell you that. Of course you can. It's whatever one that sends the traffic that ends up buying. And I agree with you there. That's certainly true. Problem that is that for 99% of the artists and photographers out there, you are likely not getting enough online sales to be statistically significant, to be able to make decisions based on true mass that actually pencil with certainty. Which traffic source is most valuable? If you're not getting enough conversions, you don't know. You just don't know. So what do you do in that situation? You start going up the funnel. It turns out there is a funnel. There is a number of different steps that a visitor is going to take before they potentially pull out their credit card, give you those digits, and purchase a piece of art. Okay, well, what's my funnel? Let's quickly define some steps. In a traditional art one, no one size fits all, mind you, but I think this will be close. And it has steps. There are a bunch of different data points. Starts with the website visit. Then you could say it starts with how much time somebody spends on the website and how many pages they visit. So did they just hit the homepage and leave, or did they stick around for 1.5 pages on average, or 2 pages, or 3 pages, or 4 pages? Then it comes down to whether or not they visited your product page. Did they click into a specific image you have that's called the product page where it's for sale? Then let's say it's whether or not they gave you their email address. Then whether or not they added an item to their shopping cart. And then, yes, whether or not they ultimately purchase. So when you don't have the necessary sales volume, and even if you do, there is always more data as you go further up the funnel. So again, website visitor at the very top, at the very bottom, the purchase, and all of those steps that I outlined in between. So let's move up from whether or not they've purchased. Let's move up from whether or not they've added something into their cart, and where do we land? We land on whether or not they gave up their email address. So if you're running a pop-up, you're tracking that goal in Google Analytics. It stands to reason this is a great step in the funnel to sort of evaluate the traffic sources you do have. So you look at all those traffic sources that I went over: direct, organic, referrals, links from the social sites or traffic from the social sites, the ads that you put up from wherever, PR, Messenger. And you look at that and you say, okay, I'm spending time trying to increase each one of these sources. I'm spending time to try to get more direct traffic. I'm doing SEO work, trying to get more organic traffic. I'm trying to get more links from other websites and articles to mention me. That's referrals. I'm doing the social sites, PR, Facebook ads, whatever it is. And you want to understand which one of those levers is the best to pull to continue to increase your sales. You don't have enough sales? Guess what? When you're capturing emails effective, and it doesn't have to be just from pop-ups, this is just a great technique, period. But when you're capturing emails from sales, and you're capturing emails, just wherever else on your site, and you're capturing them from pop-ups, you can now sit back, look at your data, and see which converted the most into your email list. I got 5 emails from this one, and 1 email from this one, and 3 emails from this one, and whoa, organic gave me 50. Well, it stands to reason you should probably continue working on your SEO. That's working. So what it essentially is, another analogy, the one I always use. You have these buoys out in the middle of the ocean, and they're bobbing around in the middle of the ocean. And what do they tell you? They tell you when the big swell is coming. And so they're out there, they measure the ocean's energy, and then a couple of days later, you're going to get some big waves. Time to get your surfboard ready. Make sure your wetsuit doesn't smell, and you're ready to go. So that's the analogy. You can't always just make your marketing decisions based on saying, oh, wow, a bunch of surf is breaking. You can, of course. But you go out to that buoy that's out there, and it'll tell you a couple times ahead of days, a couple of days ahead of time. So that's what pop-ups can be if you're running them effectively, and you understand the data tracking is like, these are the traffic sources early on that are showing the signals that are the most important to my future business. As a result, I need to work on those. Spent an equal amount of time on Facebook, an equal amount of time on Instagram. I threw a bunch of links, and let me see what happened. Well, I got 100 emails from Facebook, and I got 2 from Instagram, or flip it, because Instagram is probably more important at this juncture. So you're able to make a decision. You're able to make a decision up the funnel as a result of the fact that you're capturing emails and goals, and the pop-up is just extremely effective way to do that. You're going to get twice as many as if you do it. And the good news here, we started with doom and gloom. We're down to good news. The options are plentiful, and they abound. There are literally a veritable cornucopia out there of apps and plugins that can get this done for you. At Art Storefronts, we built our own. They come standard with all of our plans. We encourage 100% of our customers to run them, and almost all of them do. But you can run them towards email, or you can run them with Facebook Messenger, or even SMS text capture. It doesn't even matter. How you go about it, completely up to you. You have all the options in the world. So literally the challenge for you is just to get one going right away. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Get one going. What's the bottom line of all of it? Attention remains currency of the land. It's getting harder and harder to get it. Once you do get it, it's that amazing person at the bar. You can choose to have the courage to ask for their email or not. You've got to ask. You've got to ask. What is marketing ultimately? Getting the attention, and then it's asking for something. being that I still have yours, should probably come up with an ask of my own. If you're enjoying this podcast, would you consider leaving me a review on iTunes? I think at the time of this recording, I have like 96 of them on there. 96. We need to get to 100. So I would really love it if you consider leaving me a review on iTunes. 5 stars would be amazing. If you don't like it, 1 star is okay too. I'm happy to get another review. You can rate it if you feel comfortable, or you can leave the text review. Either way, they count to the total. I would be really extremely grateful. And on that note, thanks for listening. And as always, have a great day.